the interviewer, again, some of these junket people are just, get the O Brother podcast in there. We'll take care of it, show how it's done. But that came up was, we were expecting the usual trope,
Right.
and we didn't get it, which I was pleased to see that because I was waiting for it. Welcome to the O Brother podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
How's it going, Dan?
Man, it's not going to be long, Mike. We're going to be heading towards our 6th year.
Hard to believe.
On the podcast. Yeah, it's amazing. And, once again, appreciate all the support we've been getting on the podcast, both, with the audio podcasts and folks that have been engaging with us on the YouTube channel. And you can get all the links to, find us in the show notes of the episode or wherever you're watching.
And I got to commend you, Dan, because I don't get a lot of those notifications because you run the account.
Yeah.
And Dan's real good about responding to everybody. And
it's fun. I enjoy it. I mean, it's great when we get engaged. We're always asking for that. And we just had our kind of second look at Michael, the movie that's coming in April, the biopic on Michael Jackson, and a lot of feedback and engagement on that one. So that was a lot of fun. So yeah, keep it coming. But Mike, we are rolling on with the Oscar-nominated film reviews, and we're more than halfway through them now. It's Train Dreams we're talking about tonight, and this, it's interesting because the up to now, this is very different than anything we've reviewed up to now. This kind of
agree.
Stands.
And by the way,
its own.
People can find this on Netflix.
Yes, yeah. It started now, as is typical with Netflix, hit the theaters November 7th last year, was out for a couple of weeks, and then started streaming on Netflix.
And I don't know about you, Dan, but I never heard of this movie until the Academy Awards were announced.
Yeah, same. It kind of snuck past us because I was going to say we didn't do a first look or anything on this film. So, this was literally a first look in every sense of the word.
Yeah, and it stars Joel Edgerton and Felicity Jones, both actors that you and I both like a lot.
Yes, and both Star Wars alum.
Yes.
Which I thought was kind of fun. Felicity Jones obviously played Jyn Erso in Rogue One, and Joel was in the prequel trilogy. And by the way, has not aged since, with the exception of a beard that he grows in this film. He looks the same. He looks unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he looked in the first Star Wars where he's like the surrogate dad to Luke.
Yeah, Owen, yeah.
And, interestingly, he was supposed to be with Felicity Jones in The Brutalist. He was originally cast, but because of COVID, he had to drop out. Well,
and you had watched him in the series Dark Matter, which you spoke highly of.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Now I haven't seen it. Is that like a sci-fi?
Yeah, it's sci-fi, and anyone who's a math nerd knows what it means, and it's really good.
Yeah, and you fit into that category.
Oh yeah, no question.
So Train Dreams, directed by Clint Bentley, who I also wasn't familiar with.
No idea. And
then it's based on a novel from Denis Johnson, I think is how you pronounce his first name, but a pretty well acclaimed novel from 2011. Yes. And you mentioned Joel, Felicity Jones, William H. Macy is in the film. And I knew, I couldn't place the name at first, but of course I knew it was the great Will Patton narrating the film.
I was like, you probably did the exact same thing. I'm like, I know who that is.
Yes.
I can see him.
Yeah.
What was it? No Way Out, I think, is the first performance he was in.
Wow. The fact that you would bring that up. And by the way, can I take a second to say, just send out some love to the great Robert Duvall, who we just lost. I've had this poster from the film Open Range on my wall now for quite a while. It's one of my favorite films of all time. I told you, for me, it's Unforgiven and Open Range, like in a neck and neck tie over the years every time I watch it. But
And
Robert Duvall's great in that film.
the biggest sin they created, forget Godfather 3, why you hate it or whatever, not, bringing him back was absolutely sinful on Paramount's part.
Yeah,
It was just a matter of money.
yeah, we wanted more Tom Hagen, and they should have paid him what he wanted. They should have made him an offer that he couldn't refuse, but they
That's
didn't do
right.
that. Yeah, so
That's right.
what a legendary career. So just, another
Fantastic.
huge loss, which we've had a lot of them in the last couple of years. It's, especially when, you get to a certain age and,
Right.
these actors that are passing away from our generation and beyond, obviously. But
And he was a very youthful 95. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed. I would have said, yeah, 88, 86.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
So that surprised me.
And I want to get you to do a review of the film Colors as well. You know that I put out a thing on our Instagram the other day from that film, and him and Sean Penn is great. It's kind of funny talking about Robert Duvall. I could see him in this film Train Dreams, actually. I could see him playing
kind
like
of
maybe
in
the
the William H. Macy role.
Absolutely. I could see that, the kind of wise sage, Can you give the plot here, the summary of this film?
It's basically about a guy, like you said, it's based on a novella by Denis Johnson. And it's about a guy, a real live guy, Robert Granier, who was a logger. And he kind of leads this life of ups and downs and drama and non-drama. And his life falls somewhere between beauty and tragedy. And that's what we see. We basically see his life play out in the course of 2 hours.
It was nice to, and it's just by coincidence we slotted it in at this point in the reviews of all of these Best Picture nominees. But we've done Frankenstein, we did F1, Begonia, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and that's the other thing too, right? Very diverse lineup of Best Picture nominees.
This is going to be a wild vote.
And somehow we didn't really see this coming together in this way earlier, as we were going through the year last year. It just wouldn't have predicted this.
In fact, everything was tanking if you go by box office. Movie studios were going crazy, and it was Sinners, which is nominated for the most awards ever. That came out in April. And I think as I look back now, that was kind of a turning point when, some of these movies were popping up. That was the first.
Right. Yeah. I was also wanted to mention, we did F1, we reviewed that already, and Carrie Condon has a small role in Train Dreams.
Yeah.
So it's
I want to give a quote from her. Should I do it now?
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
This is Carrie Condon when she comes across, she kind of makes friends with Roger Granier. And he says something to the effect of, I'm just living this isolated life. I'm a hermit. And her quote, I love this quote, sums up the movie a little bit. The world needs a hermit in the woods as much as a preacher in the pulp.
That's a great line.
Love that line.
That's a great line. Yeah, I love that line.
She's not even credited in the film.
Go
to IMDb. She's not even there.
Well, you may have to look at like the full cast list.
I did.
Oh, that's weird.
I was shocked.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's certainly credited on the film as you watch it, but yeah, that was a very poignant quote in the film. I remember that.
And the two of them were in her living space, which is kind of a tower built. He's a logger. Did I say that? I think I said he was a logger. And she lives and overlooks the forest. And that's her job.
What I didn't pick up on is this is also, the span of his life here that we're seeing was about 80 years or something, right?
Yeah, like
And
right after the war had
World
ended.
right. And yeah, World War One, right? And he the you're we're seeing the arc of his life, but we're also seeing um the technological sort of revolution happening over the years, and and
Yeah,
and
they
actually it's very significant to the character, right? Because as you said, he's a logger is how he's making his money.
right,
And what happens as we get deeper into the film
right.
with that
And
career?
and this is a guy that went through his life without speaking on a phone,
Mhm.
without doing so many things that we couldn't live without today.
Well, and I think that's a big theme, right? And a message is this
Definitely.
sort of connection to nature, getting back to simpler times, maybe. And we're so dependent today on our devices and it being indoors and not, being one with nature, which is so important for our well-being and our mental state of mind. So I think it's a lot about that. And as much as it is love and loss and longing and all these things and the relationship
Lots of
between
themes.
he and Felicity Jones's character, which and there's some heart-wrenching sequences in the film. It's very
You
moving at
know,
times.
early on, and I got to ask you this because I'm a little clueless on this one issue, and it's a
Mhm.
theme
Uh-huh.
throughout.
Yeah.
And I think the theme is, are we responsible when we don't take action? And
Mm.
it hit me really hard because of law school. And the reason is one of the first cases you read about, learn about, say you're walking down the street and there's a pond on your left and somebody's drowning. And you say to yourself, if I go in and don't save him, I'm going to get charged with murder. So I'm not doing anything. So every state has kind of adapted these what's called Good Samaritan laws.
Mhm.
Well, we see that early on where he's on a job,
Mhm.
he's cutting, literally just their work tool at that time is a huge saw, a
Mhm.
two-man saw, and he's with this guy and they're cutting a log, and all of a sudden these guys come and grab him
Mhm.
and kind of throw him off a cliff. And he does nothing, and that haunts him throughout his life at different times.
What
But
yeah.
they never paid it off.
Well, I think that's a reasonable inference to make. It I think it's also because there's other things that continue to transpire that are
Yes,
throughout the film that are challenging him,
right.
right? And, again, without going, giving anything away or going, into spoilers. And I had written down as I was given a second watch was, it's also bad things happen to good people,
Yeah,
but you're right. There is that element of, at least in that one instance, I think the others, it's more like I just said, sometimes, like I think of Groundhog Day, just came to my mind. Sometimes people just die, but you're
right.
right.
And
This was something he witnessed
right.
and then never spoke a word of. And you could tell it was haunting him
It was haunting him
throughout his
throughout.
life.
The one of the dreams
Yeah.
is him sitting with this guy.
Yes, he keeps coming back to him in his dreams. And I agree with you that I feel like something was missing, although I would much rather Clint leave it up to us to fill that in than have it force fed.
Which is
So
what he definitely did.
correct. And because we also, now we should say Joel's character is an orphan child. We're introduced to him as an orphan child,
Right.
and we don't really. There's kind of this period of his life that we don't know a lot about. He drops out of school, it seems, and how does he make his way? up until his adulthood. We don't really get that filled in, so it's
Yeah.
leaves a lot to the
Yeah, there's a lot of
imagination.
backstory not there.
There is, and I just wonder if that further informs the decision that he made or failed to make when he witnessed that incident.
Yet he laments because this is around the time he goes from just, random logging in the Pacific Northwest to working on the railroads. And that's when he laments ever going to work for the railroads. Like, that was a bad thing because that's where he saw bad things happen. And there's another incident that happens that I won't talk about, but we get the director explains why that took place, at least from the character's point of view. Whether or not he's telling the truth, we don't know.
Right, right. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if something would come more into focus with another watch. Did you watch it more than once?
I
Or?
only watched it once.
Okay.
I didn't feel the need to go back.
Mhm.
It's fairly slow moving, and there isn't a lot of secrets or, twists like we've seen in other
One one hour
films.
1 hour and 42 minutes.
Okay, so it
Right.
was shorter than I even thought.
Nice and tight, but you're right. It's the pace of it, and that's why that was one of the points I was trying to get to at the top of the episode was coming off of the films we've just reviewed. This was like, whoa, to really slow things down and have this kind of stillness on screen. It's very rare to see in films these days, to sit on a two shot, between he and Felicity, and just kind of sit with it for a while. It's
And
nice to see, but
to your point in F1, right? I think the obvious thing was going to be Kerry Condon and him connecting and hooking up.
yeah,
And he doesn't do that. Doesn't go
no.
anywhere near that.
They were actually asked about that in a Vanity Fair interview.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. The interviewer again. Some of these junket people are just get the O Brother podcast in there. We'll take care of it. Show how it's done. But that came up was we were expecting the usual trope,
Right.
and we didn't get it, which I was pleased to see that because I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it.
Yet it would have been more fitting in this movie than F1. But I agree with you.
Yeah, not by much.
Don't
but
need to go there.
Sure. There's the frailty of life. How do you even carry on in the face of this kind of loss that he experiences, right? So resiliency, the
Mhm.
resiliency of this guy, as much as he had gone through and experienced in his life, he still finds a way and a reason to move forward. And that comes to a very poetic and kind of beautiful climax at the end of this film. If you
Yeah.
think about, again, I don't want to give it away, but and it's a beautiful film, by the way. The cinematography in the film, wow. I mean, the
It's
colors,
completely
wow.
shot digitally, and that
Hmm.
was because they only had 29 days to shoot. We've been talking about 18 months and a year and a
Hmm.
half. This was 29 days. So they shot it digitally. And for the people who hate logging, and they weren't, a lot of that was fake. Those were props, those trees.
Yeah, that was kind of nice to see, right? Because I'm sure that a lot of folks would be curious about that. Are these guys out here felling all these trees and
Right.
So
And
but
there's
you're
all,
right.
the controversy of deforestation and the whole bit. Well, that didn't
Correct.
happen in the movie. So,
Right. Right. Yeah, I was actually surprised. And there's one sequence, I tried to find a clip of it, but I couldn't find it. I think it's the opening shot, and it's basically leading up to the falling of a tree. And
yeah.
clearly Clint has a camera mounted on the trunk of this tree, and we see it fall, and the perspective is so striking
Yeah.
on screen that it was just so yeah, beautiful, beautiful job directing the film too. So I really enjoyed the film. It was again a very big change of pace from what we've been seeing,
Huge change.
but it was beautiful. I thought Joel did a great job. Now I know he was nominated for a Golden Globe, but is he nominated for an Oscar?
You
I
know,
didn't look that up.
I'm not certain.
Okay. He should be. He should be because it's,
Yeah,
it's an award-winning performance, I would say.
yeah, and like you said, it's very thematic.
Mhm.
Even danger, like you just talked about, that didn't come into my conscience
Mhm.
until we saw, limbs break off, and these things are gigantic, would squash you.
Mhm.
And there's a lot, danger is another theme, I think, throughout.
Do you think it's also there's anything to be said about sort of respecting and appreciating what came before? Like, you talked about these guys on these huge manual saws,
Right.
that was until we came across the chainsaw and all these other things years later that were invented. I
And
wonder if
as
there's a
they
message there about appreciating that.
I think so, and I think there's another message about aging,
Mhm.
because you get to a certain age, you can't,
Yeah.
handle a saw anymore, but
Yeah, that's
they
true.
find things that you can do because this is kind of a community,
Right.
and they meet each other and they don't know. They have no way of communicating. So they show up on a job and there might be a handful of guys they've worked with before, or there might be total strangers.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, and a quick tie-in to the Nelms brothers, which we often do on the show. Clifton Collins Jr. has a small part in the beginning of the film, and he was in Small Town Crime, of course.
Right.
Yeah, great.
Right.
He's a great character actor.
I thought we were going to see a lot more of him.
Yeah, yeah. No, he was good. It was a small part, but it was good. Yeah, I think there's a lot more going on here in the imagery and things than maybe we even picked up on a first pass. To be honest.
Yeah. It's one I would definitely watch again. Whether or not I would buy it, I'm not sure.
Hmm.
I guess it would depend on how, the form it would take. Dan
Yeah,
showing a shot of
yeah.
Joel Edgerton.
This is just from the trailer. You can see that it's like here's the saw,
Right.
they're using back in those times and the manual labor and so forth. So, and see, like here's a great shot of him kind of later in the film walking towards the movie theater here, and so they're just these subtle hints of the fact that society is evolving, right? And these technological innovations and space travel becomes featured in the film at one point as well, right? And
Uh-huh.
he's just kind of traveling through life, having grown up in a much simpler and
Right.
much harder time, arguably. Um, so it's a bit of a fish out of water story too, in some ways, I think.
And guys like him, they find a spot and they build their own house.
Hmm.
It's really quite touching.
It is. It's really moving. Yeah. So if you're looking for something that's very kind of introspective and not a shoot 'em up kind of that sort of thing, this is a nice change of pace, like I said. So I can see why this is it. See, there's the shot right there
Yes.
of the tree falling. Just what a great shot that was. But I can see why this is amongst the 10 films that are nominated.
Now, if it was, the old days and it was 5 films, would this one be the one of them that got dropped?
Well, it's hard to say. Now we're 6 films in. We got 4 left that we've got to watch and review, right? So it's hard to give that assessment right now. But of the ones that we've watched, actually, for me, this would take F1 slot. Now
But we
for
both
you,
agree F1 shouldn't be there,
well,
as
you're
much as we
much
like it,
well, your
or
praise
I
for it is
liked it.
much higher than mine. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I would easily see this slotting in over that. So again, it makes for an interesting lead up to the awards this year.
yeah.
And this is one that we're definitely going to be glued to from top to bottom because I feel now we've got a much more vested interest in it. And again, we've commented, you know, on the podcast many, many, many times. We've done almost exclusive episodes on our opinions on the award shows and how they might do them, right, as more of a celebration
Yeah,
of
like
the
a
art form.
tribute to film.
Yeah, not a best worst kind of a thing, right?
Right, right.
And I still think that's a much better concept than what they've got today. But certainly, if you've labored on these films and you're one of the creatives that's involved, that's the top honor. That's as good as it gets.
I think this film, if we were just relying on box office or, it's because of the film festivals that this film is in front of us, I think.
Yeah, well, Sundance, I think it premiered, right, at Sundance?
Yeah, and it played at a bunch of festivals, and, I can see why, but I didn't even look up the commercial numbers. I knew they wouldn't be high.
Well, give some well, you're not gonna find much on that given the fact it was out for 2 weeks and then went to the platform on
Right.
Netflix, because that's their business model, which that's where I was going to say, I guess in some ways kudos to Netflix because that actually is what I think gets it out to more and more people. I mean, think of the number of households with a Netflix account,
Right.
right? They're gonna watch this film. What do you think is behind I mean, listen, the rotation, the content on Netflix is endless. You go down a rabbit hole every time you go on that menu. But what do you think plays into their decisions to purchase a film like Train Dreams?
That's a great question because this is one I would think wouldn't be on their radar.
Yeah.
You know, I think they more importantly look for actors and make deals with talent versus the other way around, which is what this is.
Hmm.
Joel Edgerton, he's a pretty, in my mind, he's a pretty well-known actor,
I would agree.
but I don't think they would approach Joel Edgerton and say, "Hey, we got 100 million for a 5 movie deal."
They're
Like
not
they have.
making, yeah, they're not making an Adam Sandler deal with Joel Edgerton.
Right.
Uh, but and Felicity Jones too. Like to me, I consider her up there as well. And yet I think her and Joel swim in a similar pond there in terms
Yeah.
of their status. And
And
um,
ironically would have been, in The Brutalist together, which would have made it maybe a different film.
that is interesting. Yeah. A lot of other great characters in the film. There's an actor named John Deal who plays a character named Billy. And there's some sweet moments there between he and Robert. And we mentioned Will Patton as the narrator. It's just perfect voice
And
for that.
when the book came out or the novella came out,
Yes.
Will Patton did the narration for that as well.
That's a good bit. Yeah, that's a good little bit of info as well. And we talked about Carrie Condon too, who's, again, her status. She's an A-lister in my mind.
Absolutely.
But another great score too, for people that care about those aspects of the films. It's a great score by Bryce Dessner. Beautiful, fitting with the film, really helps punctuate those emotional beats. And then we would be remiss if we didn't, comment on the two commonly stated ratings, which IMDb has a Metascore of 88, which that's good. I think that's right about where it is.
It's really good.
Rotten Tomatoes, Mike, 95% from the critics, 90% from the audience.
Wow.
Again, it's something very different from the ones at least that we've reviewed and been talking about. I'm now more curious to see the remaining films to see how those stack up.
Yeah.
Sentimental Journey being one of those, and
Right.
we've got a few others that we still have to get to. Sentimental Value, which is the Stellan Skarsgård film, I believe. Secret Agent. The Secret Agent is another one. Marty Supreme, and then of course Hamnet. So that's
Right.
what's left for us to cover. But this one, yeah, this was a good film. It's another one I would recommend. It sounds like you would as well.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of blown back 'Cause
Mhm.
normally we're always like, "How did this get nominated? How did that get nominated?"
Right.
We're, like, on board so far with every nomination.
Now let me ask you the question from a physical media standpoint. Where does this is this something you're gonna pick up on physical media or only if it's like 4K loaded with extras or
Yeah, well, I already have Sinners, I already have, F1. The drama stuff is not as rewatchable for me,
for you?
you
Yeah.
know? So,
Yeah.
I don't know if those will find its way. I think, like I said, it depends on the presentation. I wasn't expecting to pick up Nightmare Alley by Guillermo del Toro
Mhm.
until I saw that it was shot in black and white
Mm.
and, totally different cut.
So if this gets like the special edition treatment, maybe you'll because
Yeah,
diving into the extras, we love to see kind of the
and
behind the scenes.
seeing how he created some of those shots,
Yeah.
and I mean, I think it's a fascinating film. It's definitely a slowdown.
It
Like, if
is.
you're
It
looking to
is.
slow down because
Right.
everything's hypercharged.
And not have something that's like constant jump cuts and this
Yep,
frenetic sort of pace.
and you don't
Um,
need a PhD to figure out the plot.
right. And it's very, character centric yeah, this is a perfect fit for that if that's what you're looking for. So it's not one you can compare to the others. It just like I said at the top, it stands on its own. So
See, there's a good point you bring up. How if I'm a voter and I'm looking at F1 and I'm looking at Train Dreams, how do I even compare the 2?
and Begonia and one battle
And
after another
Begonia.
and Sinners.
Right.
See again, this is maybe the year, Mike, that the Academy or at least members of the O Brotherhood
Yeah.
will get behind us and rally around this idea of they all deserve the
Let's
acknowledgement.
celebrate all of these films.
Now, they've all okay, they're all nominated, right? So okay, that's your first step. But again, let's just celebrate the art that
Right.
this is I'm really pleased. And it makes me hopeful with the ones that are remaining. We may have saved some of the best for last. Who knows?
Yeah.
We've got what I think like four I said left. So, but man, I mean, again, I wasn't super high on F1 as you were, but I certainly didn't dislike the film. I did enjoy the film, and the rest have been all very original in my opinion.
Mhm.
And everything about them, great directing, the score, the acting, the story. It's just fascinating. So I'm very pleased this year for sure. So this is another one to put in the archives. We'll be back again, of course, with the next one until we get through all of them. Anything else to say about Train Dreams as we close this one out?
Like I said, I wish this was on my radar sooner. I would have watched it a long time ago.
Yeah, I hope that I
Mm.
hope people will, whether it's from our conversation or they got a Netflix account and they're just looking for something different, that they'll check this one out because we need more of these films and less of, I'm sorry, the Marvel kind of superhero stuff. I mean, I love that stuff, but
Well,
let's mix
those
it
are
up.
2 of the films that were early in the year that tanked.
Well, and see, Train Dreams is not going to get 12 screens at the
No.
theater,
You're
but
not gonna see it on 3,000
no,
screens.
no, but it deserves to be seen. And again, I guess maybe again, kudos to Netflix because it provides a platform for that to happen. Whether that's, is this a film you need to see in a theater of people? I don't know. I guess you could argue that either way. But I actually, quite frankly, probably better to watch it alone because you're probably going to shed some tears and, you know.
There's no question when you watch it, you reflect, and there's so many
Mm,
themes, we touched on a lot of them,
yeah.
that you find yourself,
Yeah.
find yourself putting yourself in his shoes.
And I
Like when he
think,
goes to the theater,
yeah.
it's like very foreign to him.
And I think it's extra poignant in this day and age, right? To see
Yeah,
this kind of film.
in a day where I picked this up 100 times,
Yeah.
every 3 hours.
Right, right, exactly. So, there you go, folks. Train Dreams, the Oh Brother Oscar review. We'll be back with another Oscar nominee. But yeah, check it out. It's on Netflix. I don't know how long it'll be in the queue there, but I'm sure you're going to be able to see it well beyond the run up to the Oscars for sure. I don't know that this is one that would get another, play in the theaters for any period of time, but I don't
Well,
think Netflix does that typically, right?
no, and they've all the films have come out and said they're not gonna replay them in the theaters.
Oh, interesting. I wonder why
Yeah,
that is.
so you gotta hope to get it on streaming if you wanna see it before the awards.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're gonna kind of, you know, your vote is gonna be incomplete.
Right, right. Well, let us know what you think. If you've seen Train Dreams, please drop some comments on the video here and let us know your thoughts about it. What did you like about it? Did you not like about it? If you haven't seen it, why not? Do you plan to see it? Just engage with us out on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel handle is at Oh Brother Podcast, all spelled out. You can find us on Instagram at OHB as in Brother Podcast. And then if you're listening to the podcast, if that's how you like to consume the show, in the show notes there are links to follow us, to go to our website, to the YouTube channel. Also, a link in the show notes to support the show if you're so inclined, to help Mike continue to put out more and more content. Much appreciated for the folks that have already done that. You can also subscribe and get early access to the audio episodes too, so you can get a listen to the reviews before the general audience gets them. But yeah, that's going to do it for the Train Dreams episode, Mike. Another episode of the Oh Brother Podcast. I've been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, of course, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.